Hey gang, welcome back to Homemade Heroes. I am Jay, your player, GM, and guide. Today we are getting into our fourth session of the Call of Starsong Tower from Mike Shea's Ruins of the Grendleroot adventure book. In our previous session, our heroes defeated 3 skeletons and made their way to the roof of the tower, where they spoke with a spectral figure who identified themselves as Sarvin Bluecaster, a member of an order of knights that had previously lived in Starsong Tower. He told them that they would need to fix the crystal at the top of the tower and to cleanse the temple at the bottom of the tower in order to make the tower whole and stop the purple light from permeating it. They used the wand of mending that they'd found on one of the dead members of the Bronze Lions to fix the crystal at the top of the tower, and a scream echoed out through the levels of the tower from below. They've now gone to investigate that, suspecting that that scream has come from Allice Shadewhisperer, previously the leader of the Bronze Lions, now perhaps suffering some kind of malady, some kind of madness, as she protects the desecrated altar below. Let's not mess around, let's get straight into it. As we're starting a new scene, we are going to need to roll on our expected scene table. So let's do that right away. And we are back at a chaos factor 5 because the most recent scene was at the top of the tower with Sarvin, and that was a very controlled scene. The characters were not in danger, they were managing the situation. And so that brought us from a level 6 down to a level 5. My roll on this occasion was a 10. So that is above our chaos factor of a 5. Therefore, the scene is going to go on as expected. As the players descend the final set of stairs leading down to the basement level of the tower, Etch gets to the bottom of the stairs and sees the figure he knows as Allice Shadewhisperer, bending down and picking up the halberd that had been lying in the corner of the room. Our characters all reach the floor and spread out in that corner, facing towards Allice. Plink, the natural spokesperson for the group, calls out, "Allice, is everything okay? I think we may have heard you scream." Allice holds onto the halberd, her hands trembling, her eyes kind of darting to the sides and rolling as some extreme emotions seem to run through her body. "I can't." Plink lifts up her hands. "Alice, we're trying to help you. We met with Sarvin Bluecaster, the spectre that oversees the tower, and he mentioned that we could work together. We can help make the tower whole again. We can cleanse the tower. Perhaps you can help us in this. We are only seeking to right wrongs that have happened before, and to bring this place back to some kind of sanctity, or at least make it habitable again." I'm gonna have Plink roll a persuasion check, but I'm gonna do so with disadvantage because it seems really unlikely that Allice is in a state of mind to be bargained with, and she is on the verge of madness is how I'm reading this. So rolling 2d20s, and we have to take the lowest of the scores as we're rolling with disadvantage. 11 and 13. So we take the 11, and Plink's modifier here for persuasion is a +6. So that's a 17 total. A pretty decent roll, but I don't think it's enough. I think the difficulty class for this particular skill check would have been a 20, and she hasn't made that. With a scream of rage, much like the one that had echoed through the tower earlier, Allice hefts the halberd over her shoulder and charges towards the group. Allice has a lower dexterity modifier than all of our group, so she is going to go last in initiative order. And as they can see her coming from the other side of the room, obviously bent on murder, they are able to take their turns before her. Let's start with Etch. Etch is going to spring forward and carefully skirting that purple radiance that still glows in this room. He makes his way carefully, avoiding that light, and puts himself halfway in between the rest of the group and Allice. So there he's right on the edge of that light. Plink is going to take her turn next, and I think what she's going to do is she's going to move and she is going to take a shot with her bow at Allice. 7 plus a 5 is 12. Unfortunately, that is not going to hit Allice. So that finishes her turn, and that brings us to Humble. Humble quickly shouts, "I don't have any spells left. I guess I'm just going to have to stick with my flame." And she pushes her staff forward, casting Produce Flame. That is a 4. It's definitely not going to hit. Ah! Drat! And all of a sudden she disappears. So Humble has used one of her Furbolg abilities here, which is called Hidden Step, and it means that she can turn invisible for a short period of time. As a bonus action, a Furbolg can use Hidden Step to become invisible until the start of their next turn, or until something else happens, such as they take damage, or they have to roll a saving throw, something like that. I also think that Humble is going to move. So she is going to move a little closer to Plink over here, just repositioning herself so that she's not where Allice had last seen her when she was visible. So remember, Humble is invisible right now. Okay, that brings us to Allice's turn. Allice is just in a blind rage, it seems, as she charges in. She stops about 10 feet from Etch and swings the halberd. Halberds have a reach of 10 feet, so she's going to be able to hit him while he's still out of range to hit her. Let's roll and see if she hits. And the damage die here is a D10. That's an 18, okay. That is definitely going to hit, even without any modifiers. And she rolls an 8 damage. Okay, she doesn't have a strength modifier to bonus as a bonus to her damage here, so that 8 hits Etch. He tries to dive out of the way, but it catches him in the side, and his ribs crumple in, his armor barely taking any of the brunt of the blow. And he flies across to hit the wall and slumps against the wall on the other side here. He is now back to 0. Looks like we may need to do some death saving throws here for Etch. But as Allice has only taken part of her movement, she is going to keep moving and track around towards Humble. That ends her turn. Etch is out of the fight right now, so we skip his turn. That brings us back to Plink. Dropping her bow on the ground, she pulls out a rapier and scuttles around in front of Humble. This time she realizes the gravity of the situation and realizes that this is a more powerful foe than they've faced so far. She's just going to have to get into it in melee range with Allice. Alright, so here it goes. 1d8 for the rapier. Oof, 8. 8 plus 5 is 13. That might just hit. Phew, that is going to hit. So Allice's armor class is a 13, so that hits. She rolls a 5 on the die, and we're adding plus 3 as her dexterity modifier to that, so that is an 8 total. As Plink scuttles around in front of Humble, she does a stop thrust, like with her rapier, and then quickly pulls back. It catches Allice through her left shoulder, and she barely seems to notice. She sort of like flinches slightly on that side, and doesn't seem to slow down. But it has definitely damaged her, so that was a good move. Humble is feeling somewhat protective. Usually she's the one that's protected by Etch, and he's now down on the ground. She wants to protect Etch, but also to some degree wants to protect Plink, I think. So she's going to move out from behind Plink, and she is going to move into melee range and strike at Allice with her staff. So taking a two-handed grip on her staff, she strikes towards Allice's head. And that is a 3. It's not going to hit. Yikes. Okay. She swings and just misses as Allice, seemingly sort of without even looking at Humble, ducks out of the way and dodges back in front of Plink. So, her turn. Allice is enraged, but she still has access to magic, and she is now going to cast a spell. Moving the halberd into one hand, she starts to move her hands and pushes an open hand towards Plink. You will stop! And casts Hold Person. So here we need to have Plink roll a saving throw. Deep Gnomes get advantage on intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throws against magic. So she's going to roll with advantage. See what she gets. Okay, she got a 3 on the purple die, but she got a 19 on the orange die. Let's take a look at that. So Allice's attempt to paralyze her has failed. That is bringing us back to Etch, and that means that Etch needs to roll a death saving throw. So the way death saving throws work in 5e is that you roll a d20 for the character that is unconscious. If they get a 10 or above as a success, and they make one step closer towards regaining consciousness and surviving. If they get a 9 down to a 1, that is a failure, and they're one step closer to final death. Essentially, you need to get 3 successes before 3 failures, or your character dies. So let's roll our first death saving throw for Etch. Okay, that was a nat 20. Oh my god, brilliant. I'm going to show you this because okay, I needed to show you that because that actually happened. So when you're doing death saving throws and you roll a natural 20, that means that the character regains consciousness and goes up to 1 hit point. So Etch slowly drags himself back and slumps against the wall and looks towards his friends, Humble and Plink. Let's add a hit point to Etch's hit points. Grand total of 1, but that's better than none. And I want to see if Plink notices him moving in the background there. Allice is kind of blocking her field of view a little bit, but she may notice. Let's see, rolling the orange die. That is a 10 plus 6, 16. Okay, so yeah, she does just from the corner of her eye past Allice notice that Etch moves and is now sitting slumped against the wall in the back of the room. A smile quickly flits across her face, but then she focuses on attacking Allice. Plink is once again going to use her rapier, but this time she's going to thrust for Allice's face, and let's see if that hits. Eight plus 5 is 13. Yes, that hits. Okay, she rolls again sneak attack, So she rolled a 4 and a 3 on the dice. That means she's got 7 plus her dexterity modifier of 3. That's 10 damage. That's a good hit. Okay, let's adjust the hit points for Allice. This time her thrust passes between the face guard of the helmet and pierces Allice's cheek, thrusting up and just kind of like stopping short of causing her more terminal damage. And as Plink whips the blade out, it opens up her cheek, leaving her teeth exposed. This time it seems like that pain has gotten through as Allice is like and reaches up a hand, like looking down at the blood. Her eyes like flare open, and she gets ready to attack again. That brings us to Humble. I think Humble is just gonna... I think Humble's gonna use her Produce Flame again. That was more successful than her staff was on her previous attack attempt. So she's gonna thrust forward her staff again and cast Produce Flame. Alright, 15. 15 plus a 6, that's 21. That hits. That's a great hit. But she rolled a 1 on the die. So that is a measly 1 off Allice's hit points. Allice, Humble, and Plink see this flame suddenly appear around Allice's head and shoulders, but it's quickly snuffed out, and barely a whisper of smoke rises up off her clothing and armor. And Plink looks down at her staff. Well, that worked, but it just didn't seem to work all that well. Okay, brings us back to Allice's turn. Allice is gonna do what she does. She's gonna turn back to, I think, striking with her halberd. Let's roll that. And she's gonna continue attacking at this little scamp that keeps on hurting her, Plink, the deep gnome standing in front of her. 16, that's gonna hit. Okay. I rolled a 4 on the damage die, and she doesn't get an addition because her strength is an 11, and so she doesn't get a modifier for that attack or damage. So the halberd whips across, and Plink, trying to duck out of the way, moves, but not fast enough, and it slices her through the thigh as she just kind of manages to miss the first part of the blow, but not the back end of the swing. That is going to bring her down to 5 HP. That ends that round. We've got another round coming up. Etch, pushing himself slowly to his feet, takes half of his movement. Does he have enough movement left to get from where he slumps against the wall over to Allice if he wanted to attack? 15 feet is what he's got left because it took him 15 feet to get up. He's not going to make it. What is he going to do? How can he help? In desperation, he's going to pull out that short sword that he had tucked away in his belt, and he is just going to throw it towards Allice, hoping that it hits. He calls out, "Watch out!" and he launches the short sword through the air. I'm going to roll to attack with disadvantage for Etch this time because a short sword is not a weapon made for throwing, and while he's proficient with a short sword, it's not made for throwing. So I'm going to roll 2 dice, and then we'll have to take the lowest. So it's a 14 and a 7. We take the 7, and 7 plus 6 is a 13. 13. That hits! Okay, fantastic. So he whips this short sword through the air, and it turns over and suddenly sort of sticks into the back of Allice. And her knees buckle. She's like, ah! And the short sword is now sticking out her back. Okay, I didn't even roll the dice with that because I didn't think it was going to hit. because he has allies around her, that's a sneak attack, and he gets to roll 2d6. Okay, let's see what he gets. A 6 and a 2, so that's 8, plus his dexterity modifier of 4. That is 12. Okay, so as the blade spins over and over, and Plink and Humble glance over in alarm, seeing this blade spin through the air, and step back to try and avoid what is probably going to be a hopeless attempt at a throw. They see the blade spinning, and it hits her in the back, and she stiffens up and screams, "Ah!" and slumps down to her knees. Her eyes clear a little, that madness that has gripped her seeming to recede, and she looks now at eye level with Plink. "My friends, are they all dead?" Plink looks at her. "I'm afraid so, Allice." "Oh, okay. It's fitting then that I should go to meet them. Please, forgive me. I did not mean to cause harm. Please fix the altar while you can. We had a wand of mending. Use that and make the tower whole again." And she slumps down onto her side. Dead. Humble quickly rushes over to Etch. "Etch, how are you doing? What happened? How did you throw like that? That was amazing. I'd never seen you throwing a sword before. I mean, if you're that good at it, you should do it all the time." Etch reaches up and pats her, well, not her shoulder, he can't reach that high, but pats her arm. "Well, to tell you the truth, Humble, that's the first time I've done it. But I'm gonna sit down and take a little break. Why don't you guys see about fixing the altar?" And he moves back against the wall and slumps down. Okay, out of character. That's fantastic. I can't believe that happened. Throws a short sword, and the damage just like exploded. Yeah, amazing way to finish that battle, from death no less. Plink and Humble move to the altar. Plink, I think you should just do what you did upstairs. Use that wand of mending, and let's see if we can get this place back to what it was before the spire. She turns and looks over her shoulder, just kind of like shivering a little bit at the black spire that sticks up out of the middle of the floor. Before that spire contaminated this place. Go on, I'll keep watch. Plink once again pulls the wand of mending out, and concentrating on where exactly on that altar she thinks it would be best to direct the power, uses the wand once, twice, and then a third time. And with each successive casting of mend, the black tendrils that have climbed up the altar and over the statue gradually draw back, suck down onto the floor, and creep into the base, disappearing. The black claw, the black spire of this Grendleroot remains, seemingly unharmed by the casting of these spells. However, the tendrils are gone, and the altar and the statue now glow with a pearly luminescence. I think that's done it. Well done, Humble. Shall we go and see if things are okay at the top of the tower? Perhaps Sarvin can confirm if things are good now or not. So Plink, Humble, and Etch regather themselves with Plink, lending Etch a shoulder to lean on as they climb the stairs, making their way again to the top of the tower. As they come up the steps at the top of the tower, they immediately notice that the purple radiance that was previously contained in the sphere in the middle of the tower roof, but was still glowing purple, has now gone and has been replaced by a white, almost golden radiance that seems to glow softly, casting a strange shadow on Sarvin's face, who floats above the surface of the roof and looks at them, a small smile on his face. You did it. Well done, my friends. I can think clearly at last. It has been a while since I've been able to remember all of what I was. I take it that you're able to clear the contamination from the lower levels of the tower and cleanse the altar statue. Plink hands Etch over to Humble to support and moves up to Sarvin. Yes, we were able to cleanse the temple below, but unfortunately at the cost of the life of Allice Shadewhisperer. She lies below, no longer imprisoned by the energies of the Grendleroot, but what a cost. What a cost. So, is everything okay? Are we able to go back to Bylon and report that things are well here? Yes, by all means. You have done well, and my great thanks. I see that you have found a weapon of my order, I believe. And he looks over at the golden short sword that is once again tucked behind Etch's belt. Kobold, bring me the weapon. Etch looks at Humble and nods, and she guides him forward. He limps over and pulls the sword out, lifting it up to Sarvin in two hands. Sarvin inspects it. Indeed, a blade of our order, although I suspect it will be of more use to you than it will of me in the coming days. It's not quite the weapon that you're used to using, is it? Here, let me help. And Sarvin reaches down and places a finger on the blade, and the blade shimmers slightly and changes into the scythe-bladed short sword that Etch carries in his other hand. That might make it a little easier to use. Again, our thanks. Please, friends, go and see Bylon. Let him know of your success. And should you choose, you're welcome to come back here anytime, speak to me, even if you would be so willing to make Starsong Tower your home. Anyway, I will see you soon. Off with you. Our three adventurers, Etch with a limp in his stride, Humble, supporting Etch as much as she can without bending in half, and of course Plink, make their way down the tower and slowly head towards the dragon's fangs to speak to Bylon and recount tales of their success. That's where we're going to end it today, folks. I really enjoyed that session. What a lot of fun. A natural 20, a thrown sword that hits. I mean, that was an amazing finish to this adventure. Thanks for sticking with us. Really appreciate you watching. And if you have comments, questions, please throw them down below. We are likely going to be bringing you a second adventure from the Ruins of the Grendleroot book by Mike Shea. Let us know if you enjoyed this and if you'd like to see more, because we're definitely keen to hear what you have to say. And tell you what, if you can think of a cool name for Etch's new blade, please let us know in the comments, and we will pick our favorite. Thanks again, folks, and farewell for now.